All right, so I want to address something that comes up a lot when talking about body language, when talking about reading people, nonverbal communication, things like that, and that is psychopaths, right? That is people who struggle with normal human emotion, and so I get asked a lot, oh, how do you interview them? How do you find out if they're lying? How do you, know? And I have to say that it is very difficult in the case of a psychopath or a sociopath or someone who struggles with that emotion. They don't express emotion like regular people do, but when you're asking the right questions, you can still elicit responses from them. And I want to show you an interview here of an Australian man, criminal, who did some terrible things. Anyway, what I want to show you here is how this interviewer was able to elicit a reaction that kind of shows you the real side behind, somebody like this, a sociopath. So here, let's start right here. I'm going to show you a little bit of a baseline. We don't have much to go on, but I want to show you a little bit of a baseline.
So when
This content is, could be very disturbing, so viewer discretion is advised.
you were on the run, how great was the urge
Urge for what?
to find young girls?
Hardly ever had an urge. It's not like a hungry dog that's got to feed every 3 hours or 4 hours. It's not like that.
So to sit down.
Okay, so you can see he's very concentrated. He's looking at her. He's very open with her. He scoffs at her question. It's not like that. He's very he's taking the high ground here as she's asking the question. He's like, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know what you're thinking about. But this is his baseline of how he's talking. But then she's going to ask him a little bit about remorse. And so let's go to that section here.
Remorse.
No, I'm asking you, as somebody who is a repeat offender here, who went on the run, who's only here because you've been caught, not because you turned yourself in. At what point do you actually feel sorry for what you've done? Is it at the point where you're captured?
Oh, that's a good question, actually. That's a good question. Well done.
So you can see there on his face how he actually is genuinely thrown off by that question. He was totally anticipating that she was going to ask him all sorts of questions about his crimes, about, the types of things that he does. But to him, this is an intellectual question, not an emotional question, right? So the emotion of remorse, she's asking him, at what point do you feel remorse? To him, this is not an emotional question. I feel remorse right after I do something evil like that, or I feel remorse days later, or I feel, she's asking him, at what point do you feel remorse? And he's got to think about it. That's really a question that is intellectually to him an interesting question. Earlier, just a few seconds before in the interview, he said, of course I feel remorse. But as she adds that follow-up question, when do you feel remorse? Suddenly he's intrigued. This is an intriguing question to him, very intellectual. It's not an emotional thing. So when this happens, now this is very rare that someone has this lack of emotion. It's very rare. But if you are interviewing or talking to someone like this, reading them is a lot more difficult because we are used to looking for emotional cues. And here you have to really puzzle out how to turn it into less of an emotional objective, and that's when you're going to be able to start to get some response, right, and be able to tell the differences in body language.